Welcome to Book Club. Welcome to Virtual Book Club. It's a book club where you don't have to read if you don't want to, but we do. Started in October 2020. A group of us met every Thursday and we talk about the books that we read, the books of our time, and the themes and topics that we find inside of these books. It's been going on ever since then, and it's week 109. So every week, like attendance is not mandatory, but every week, some people join me. And here is Rob Berry, Avel Beckford, Hal Garin, Bobby Lee. Hey, cuz. Good looking bunch today. How you doing? I see Bobby's ready for golf.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
We got a fresh 6 inches of snow, unfortunately, but I'm ready.
Oh, it's
kind of hard to find your ball in the snow, huh?
Yeah, you have to play with orange ones.
It's the hottest day of the year here in Calgary. It's +7, so that's like 36 or something, maybe 40.
That's like a heat wave up there.
Totally, it is. Yeah, we got Houston, we got Toronto, we got somewhere in Ohio. We're not sure, or Utah. Where are you in Utah, Bobby?
Northern Utah, small town called Tremont.
Tremont. That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
And we got our Florida man.
Oh, there's lots of them. They usually end up in news stories.
Yeah.
And they're always guilty, regardless of what they say.
Funny.
But there's not a whole lot of incentive to go to Disney because it's here,
Right. So
that's a fraud joke.
Okay. I didn't get it. Rob must have. We're reading a pretty exciting book. Talking of the devil, Mr.
Yeah, I talked him up.
How's everybody doing? It's been a while.
Yeah,
Speaking of the
been
devil,
a long while.
And then
I just texted him and said, "Where the heck are you?"
Like my accountability coach. I like that.
asked about you.
So Rob, you read until books put you to sleep, and then when you wake up, you guilt Chris into participating.
The thing is, I'm learning through osmosis, and so while I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming and I'm retaining everything that I've read.
Oh, you're dreaming about me? That's nice.
All right, quickly, Benita, change subjects. Quickly.
Please. We've got Carissa Pilster with us. Hi, Carissa. Long time no see. Carissa is also one of the founding members, I would say. She was there with us from almost the very start.
Yeah, when it was just you and me. Some weeks it was only two of us.
There would be some weeks where nobody would come and it'd just be me and Carissa, and we'd have long talks. I still haven't gone skiing, by the way.
Neither have I. So.
Okay, I don't feel
you're
so
back
bad.
in Colorado.
Yeah, I don't feel so bad because she's in Colorado, so she's like surrounded by the big four. Up here, we only have the big three. So we're reading Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And, I don't really have a lot to say except because I'm only in 1964 and the story starts in 1962. Was it 1962? I think so, yeah. But it's exactly what they say. Like I've never read a memoir before. Shoe Dog, a memoir by the creator of Nike, Phil Knight. Except for like memoirs of a geisha or something, so I didn't know what to expect. But it's exactly as marketed, young, searching, fresh out of business school. Phil Knight borrowed $50 from his father and launched a company with one simple mission: import high quality, low cost running shoes from Japan. Selling the shoes from the trunk of his Plymouth Valiant, Knight grossed $8,000 that first year, 1964. Today, Nike's annual sales topped $30 billion. In this age of startups, Knight's Nike is the gold standard, and its swoosh is more than a logo, a symbol of grace and greatness. It is one of the few icons instantly recognized in every corner of the world. But Knight, the man behind the swoosh, has always been a mystery. Now, in a memoir that's surprising, humble, unfiltered, funny, and beautifully crafted, he tells his story at last. And it really is funny. I don't know how many times I've written LOL in the column now. Have any of you read it besides Hal?
I actually read this one.
Oh, what did you think, Rob?
Oh, I liked it because it was kind of quirky. I liked it because he emphasized following your crazy ideas and your crazy spirit and your crazy heart. So,
And he's funny about it.
yeah.
Like, he makes fun of himself, which I love because, you know, like, as small business owners, like, we talk crazy to ourselves all the time, right? And he just writes it down.
So here's a fact that I stumbled across with regard to this book.
Okay.
This, even though obviously Phil Knight contributed to it, it was ghostwritten.
Right.
And the guy who ghost wrote this book does not necessarily want to be in the forefront. So you won't see his name associated with this book. He also ghost wrote Agassi's book, Open.
Oh.
And he
Right.
also ghost wrote
Spare.
Prince Harry book, Spare.
Right. I read this from one of your posts. He's a really good ghostwriter. Like, I really get the feel for Phil Knight here.
Yeah, I mean, to do that, you have to have someone, you know, and I haven't read either of those other two books. I've wanted to read Open. I have no interest in Spare, quite frankly, but that's just editorializing. But, you know, to be a good ghostwriter and not have your name publicly associated with that writing. Now, granted, I'm sure he's getting paid a good boat of money, you know, to do it. But that's a certain talent, you know, to be a writer and not have your name prominent with it, and the amount of time you have to spend with the individual to glean the ability to write it is
Well, we've got like two ghostwriters here. So they know a little something about ghostwriting.
Yeah, you gotta really get in.
When I
You gotta really get
ghostwrite
into
the
somebody's
whole-
head to be a good ghostwriter.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking in somebody else's voice is kind of difficult.
And then for them to read it and go, so yeah, that's right, that's it, you know, as opposed to saying, no, you got that all wrong, bud.
Right. Yeah, and Leslie's asking me what makes it funny. And I mean, I'll read like one. I mean, I don't know. Like, would it be funny if I read just one part?
We'll let you know.
Okay. Okay, what it was really, the first part is really fun, just fun, because he visits all these places and he describes it. Like, he went to Hawaii, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Rangoon, Calcutta, Bombay, Saigon, Kathmandu, Cairo, Istanbul, Athens, Jordan, Jerusalem, Nairobi, Rome, Paris, Vienna, West Berlin, East Berlin, Munich, London. So, like, I don't know. He says that they weren't rich, but I don't know any poor kids that can do that, and especially not back then. Okay, so I didn't know this, and did any of you, that back in the day, they called khakis a pair of suntans.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
That's news to me.
I'm going to read about when he was. I couldn't sell encyclopedias to save my life. The older I got, it seemed, the shyer I got, and the sight of my extreme discomfort often made strangers uncomfortable. Thus, selling anything would have been challenging. But selling encyclopedias, which were about as popular in Hawaii as mosquitoes and mainlanders, was an ordeal. No matter how deftly or forcefully I managed to deliver the key phrases drilled into us during our brief training session, boys, tell the folks you ain't selling encyclopedias. You're selling a vast compendium of human knowledge, the answers to life questions. I always got the same response. Beat it, kid. If my shyness made me bad at selling encyclopedias, my nature made me despise it. I wasn't built for heavy doses of rejection. I'd known this about myself since high school, freshman year, when I got cut from the baseball team. A small setback in the grand scheme, but it knocked me sideways. It was my first real awareness not everyone in this world will like us or accept us, that we're often cast aside at the very moment we most needed to be included. I will never forget that day. And it's just like, as business owners, we like really relate, right?
I think the thing about, sales is, yes, there is a subset of the population that are natural salespeople. They could sell you anything. It doesn't really matter what it is. They have a natural skill and a knack for being able to do that. For most people, the disconnect, I think, comes in that you don't really believe in the product. Because if you really believe in the product, then you're not really selling. It's one of the things I said, a lot of times when I have given presentations to high school and college students about the internal audit profession. I said, you may be pursuing accounting or something where you've concluded, I'm not a salesperson. I can't be a salesperson. And I would tell them, you are. Whatever job you're going to have, you're going to have ideas that you want to convince other people that you are right. And you're going to need to sell them. It doesn't feel like selling because you believe in the product, the idea. But if you don't believe in the product and it's not natural for you, then selling is difficult. So him selling shoes probably was not a big deal because he believed in the product and he was a runner and, it all made sense to him. Selling encyclopedias, he didn't believe in the product, wasn't passionate about it.
Yeah, that's a good point because I think all of us are having to sell something in some capacity, and we're still here, so we must be somewhat successful at it. And I think when we can convey our passion for whatever our product or service is, people see that and they hear it and they understand it. And to your point, Hal, it doesn't feel, sound, or look like selling.
Agreed. Were you guys aware of? Hi, Carissa, you're back. Were you guys aware of where the name Nike came from? I had always wondered when I was in Greece, the temple of I can't remember her first name, but Nike, Athena Nike. I can't remember. But I always wondered if it was from the temple.
Yeah, it was the goddess of victory.
Yes.
You got to think that's pretty bold and ambitious to name your company after the goddess of victory. We're gonna beat all the other shoe companies. We're gonna be victorious. That's pretty doggone ambitious, right?
Right. Well, what's even more bold was when he goes to Japan and he talks to these shoe salesmen and claims that he's representing a shoe company called Blue Ribbons.
That's insane, right? But it speaks to the whole victory thing. I will win at all costs. I believe in myself so much so that I will go over to Japan and I will promise to do something that I may not be able to do, but I'm darn sure going to do my best to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Insanely cool, but that's kind of insane.
Well, that's that. But isn't that the entrepreneurial culture that's evolving in the the twist of the fake it till you make it stuff?
Yeah. It's not having all of the answers or maybe any of the answers, but having faith that you can figure it out.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if we should celebrate that or like be cautious.
Yes. No, I mean, really, you should do both, right? Because
Right.
some people might fail and you can criticize and complain, but I kid you not, for those who aren't doing anything, you can't really criticize and complain. You need to just go somewhere and be quiet. It's the people who are trying and failing are the ones who either change the world or at least try and who make it a better place. It's the ones who stay silent are the ones who I feel sorry for because they're too scared to speak up and too scared to put one foot in front of the other and try. We're gonna fail at everything that we try.
And I mean, it depends on the environment you're in too. I mean, also being a salesperson, you hear no over and over and over again. It's finding that one yes. But the fake it till you make it culture. Yeah, I mean, if you're a salesperson, you've heard no. You don't care what other people say. You have thick skin too. But yeah, it's just I don't know. And then some cultures you're in will tell you no all the time. Your leadership will tell you no, and then some will be like, no, tell us more. How do we fix this? Like, let's talk about ideas. Let's brainstorm. Let's mastermind. So, but the fake it till you make it is, yeah.
I think it's a mindset from the salesperson themselves as too, because when you hear no, you want to hear no. I love hearing no because it allows me to understand what they need to get to yes, so I can support them in a better capacity. So that's kind of the way I see that as well. And there's never no. It's never ever no right now. It's no right now is the way it is. Yeah. I in all my experience, it's never no. You shut the door and walk away. Every time I call back, it's always a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. It may take 3-4 years, but it's always a yes at some point. It's no right now.
So here's my question. Well, I guess part question, part comment. I'll ask the question first, though. Is there a difference between the salesperson, or what is the difference between the salesperson who is also the creator / co-founder and the salesperson who's simply selling? Because I think you have two different approaches and two different outlooks when you're really vested and invested in whatever it is. So what's the difference for you, Chris? Because I mean,
Well, I'm the founder. So yeah, it's definitely a lot more on the table in that regards as well. But I think the important thing is going back a couple books to the culture, the corporate culture within the company, and you want everyone to feel that their success is your success, and your success is their success. So if you really want your salespeople to take that to heart, you really need to encourage them and ensure that they're part of the organization, at the heart of the organization.
And I think you have the ability to take more risks too, because you are the owner.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm disappointed about is that he went into his first sales meeting in Japan and he got a contract.
Right?
Like, what the heck? Okay, so
I was going to go on something that Rob just said about being the owner is, being the owner of a company. I think it depends on the owner if they're going to take more risk, because some owners say, well, if I take too much risk, I'm going to lose money here, or there's too many chances. And people that work for a company, they don't see the money. They don't see what you're losing as an owner or what it's going to take to make it to tomorrow. As on the other side of being an owner, you see that every day. You're watching that balance sheet. So you might be like, well, I'm not going to take this risk because it's going to cost me. It's going to cost us too much, versus being an employee, you're just like, oh, I'll spend this, I'll go on this luxurious trip, or I'll go, spend this to go to this company and get a yes from them. But I don't know. I think
Yeah.
there can be both. It depends on the owners of the company.
That's a good point. Hello, Raquel. Laura says, in a course I took on doing business with the Japanese, and then I found this part that I wanted to read you guys about what he was told when doing business with the Japanese. The key, they said, is don't be pushy. Don't come on like the typical asshole American, the typical gaijin, rude, loud, aggressive, not taking no for an answer. The Japanese do not react well to the hard sell. Negotiations here tend to be soft, sinewy. Look how long it took the Americans and Russians to coax Hirohito into surrendering. And even when he did surrender, when his country was reduced to a heap of ashes, what did he tell his people? The war situation hasn't developed to Japan's advantage. It's a culture of indirection.
It's also, and then the flip side of that too is it's also, the old, yes doesn't necessarily mean yes. We're going to do what we said. You said yes means I understand what you said. It doesn't mean I agree. It doesn't mean I'm going to do anything. And I think he experienced a lot of that, as the stories were unfolding in the book and the relationships with the Japanese. He took yes as, okay, I got a deal. Oh, yes, they're going to deliver when they say they're going to deliver, and that wasn't necessarily true.
No. I mean, yes.
Yeah. I think one thing about the book, though, was if you really look at it, he was, I would describe it as carefully reckless. He took a lot of just risk. And I don't know if he actually understood the negative repercussions. And I don't really think that he cared. And I think that that's what kind of helped him, because he put in there one quote, let's see, where he said, it was a quote from Suzuki that he used in his book where he said, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. And if you read about like the beginning of Nike, this dude was taking a whole lot of risk that if Nike were already a company, even making a few $100,000, he probably would not have taken, because he would have been too scared of what he might lose. But since he didn't have anything, he was just all out, just, what, to the walls. I mean,
Yeah, and I think it was a lot of naivete too, because if he knew what he learned after going through what he went through, would he start the company? And I wonder, it was the naivete of not really realizing the difficulties, the struggles, the problems you're going to run into, the existential threats that kept coming up, that he had to just sort of power through.
Yeah.
What a great point. Maybe it is our naivete that brings us here.
I think a lot of entrepreneurial, not all, but a lot of entrepreneurial risk taking is not knowing the downside, not realizing the downside. Because if you did, you'd say, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not up for that, and then you end up in this crisis situation where your option is, I'm going to have to figure out a way through it. But if I knew I was going to run into that in advance, I might not have done it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think being curious and playful in a kid-like fashion helps a lot too, because okay, hold on. I told you guys, I really like this one. I think I read it in 2018 or something like that. But anyway, he said, where is it? I just lost it. Oh, he said, we were the kind of people who simply couldn't put up with corporate nonsense. We were the kind of people who wanted our work to be play. And when you have that kind of an attitude, as long as you can pull off the business side of it, you keep the creative juices flowing, because you got to think, starting off as a shoe company, then all of a sudden now you're selling visors, then all of a sudden you're selling clothes, then now you're selling golf balls. Then you do a deal with Michael Jordan, which happened to be just the craziest thing ever, right? We're going to create this shoe under our company, but we're going to have this guy endorse it. And by the way, he's not really a somebody just yet, but he's on his way to be a son. The ideas were just crazy, but almost kind of calculated, but still kind of fun. And I think a lot of times corporations get so big, they lose the fun aspect. And that's what creates, I don't know, toxic environments and places that you don't want to ever go work for.
I think the biggest thing for him too was getting the legendary and almost mythological Bill Bowerman to agree to work on the shoe designs and keep coming back and tinkering with shoes and tinkering with shoes and tinkering with shoes and trying out unproven shoes on his own track team.
It's something you said there, the freedom, you know, giving your people the freedom to try something and fail and still celebrate that too. It's companies that think that they have to be successful every time they try something. So I think that's where some of the challenges are, or telling you, oh, you failed and we're going to demote you, or we're going to take away, oh, we're going to be a poor performance review because you failed this year. So instead of like, oh, well, you tried 3 different things and none of them worked, but you tried them. So, I mean, we don't see as much of that. So I think definitely giving people the opportunity to try new things, and instead of telling them they made a mistake, but celebrating them and saying, okay, what are we going to try next? I mean, Steve Jobs was the same way too. So he's, you know, how many, and then the other problem but I don't know if Nike's getting into it, but if you watch all these companies, they have their core product and what is it? And then sometimes they get too far away from the core. Is Nike getting too far away from their core? Do they have too many different, are they into too many different clothes? Are they into too many things? Is their shoe product still a great product these days? As good as everything else that they do? So.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Nike's culture to say what I'm going to say next is true. But you look at you know, Nike's foundings through Phil Knight, and it was the true entrepreneurial thing. You're rewarded for taking risk, and then as you become a complicated organization and you're beholden to Wall Street and you're beholden to investors, you avoid risk. You don't take risk for the reward. You're rewarded for avoiding risk. And it's just a completely, you know, the mindset has to change, and understandably so. But it's why it's not the same company it was at its founding.
That's how you get these startups that are game changers. They come in and they're ready to take risks because they have nothing to lose. And then you get these big companies that don't want to take risk anymore.
I'm sorry. And why the best situation for, you know, entrepreneurs is sell it before you have to get too big, before you have to become, you know, this corporation with investors and stockholders, because that you as a founder don't want that environment. So you sell it, you cash in, you make money, and you move on to the next thing.
I think the hardest thing is with these large corporations, how do you, once Nike made it past that point of celebrating failure, how do they still keep that in a company and have, you know, maybe it's a portion, that's what these companies have R&D sides that might be completely different than the rest of their nature, where you have a research and development to figure that out and to celebrate that and to give them space to make all those failures. So I don't know if Nike has that, but I know a lot of these corporations have it. And sometimes it's the first part of the corporation to go too. So
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, Laura.
Link.
He did have a mortgage.
But I can't hear what you say. Quoting.
Yeah, I think you're on mute, Benita.
Oh, sorry. I was talking about Laura. I was like, I didn't realize until you guys said that I was on mute. It was hilarious. I thought you guys were hearing me.
No, I thought you were playing a cruel joke on us.
He took risks, but he didn't have a mortgage. He borrowed from his dad. Like, I wonder if he did have a mortgage, things would have turned out differently. Would we still have a Nike? I'm glad we do.
Yeah,
I
but
say yes.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Because I think the other question is, darn it, I just lost my whole train of thought. Oh, was not having a mortgage a risk within itself too? Was that a strategy? You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I say yes.
I think he was passionate enough about what he wanted to do that if it meant, not paying the mortgage, kicking
Or
people
taking a
out of his
loan out.
life, losing friends, losing family. He was passionate about it, and that's when I look at myself, did the risks I take before in my career before I was married different than after I was and had a mortgage? Hell yeah. And after I had young kids, hell yeah. It changes but it's what's important to you. If my career was first, it wasn't, then I would not worry about all those other things.
Right.
Well, I always say you need 3 things to start a business. If you have 2 or more, you're locked and loaded, ready to go. But if you have one of those things, you can make it happen. That's a network, that's money, or an elite/niche skill set. If you have one of those 3 things, you can get the other 2 and build a business.
Ooh, awesome. Yeah.
I would add to that, maybe that's embedded in one, is a support network. Because
That's what I mean. I'm a network.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't mean just a network of friends and all that, but I mean, at your lowest points, if your family's got to support you, and if they're not passionate with you, then that's going to create the stress, and it's going to create either you and the family are going to have to sever relationships, or you're going to have to give up the business somehow. And so that support network starts with your immediate family. If that includes, spouse, brothers, sisters, parents, whatever it is. And that speaks to Laura's point a little bit, about, he didn't have a mortgage, but he had his dad paying for stuff. Mm-hmm. He was bankrolled. He was supported.
I really think for business owners, there has to be like a grit, resilience, drive too, though, because there's so many people out there that say, "Oh, I'm going to start a business," and I've run a business and I've worked with startups before too, and they say, "Oh, I've got this, I have it, I'm excited about it," but 6 months in, when they're realizing, okay, this has to be a full-time job to keep on growing it, or I don't have enough money to keep making it, and they're just like, well, I'm going to give up on my dream. I'm going to give up on this. It's not quite enough to dive into it. So it's to anybody that's thinking about doing a startup, I would plan for a year of no money, or spending money, spending a lot more than you make. So definitely don't think you're going to be a millionaire tomorrow, but if you keep driving at it, it's the right idea, and don't even expect your company to start to grow until maybe 3 months in, maybe 6 months, depending on your product.
Do you believe in it enough to live in your car if you had to?
Yeah, that's right. Laura and I were part of a startup course, a startup accelerator program. And I bet you she'll agree with me that, out of the 14 people in your cohort, only 2 or 3 of you survive within the first year. So it's so true that there's so many people that fall out of it, and usually in the first year.
Yeah, I watched that recently. I was coaching one, I think it was a couple of years ago, for the E4All program, which is really great. It helps minority businesses get started. But the person that we were coaching, she was doing awesome. She had this great idea, and she was getting into it, and we kept on warning her, it's going to take 6 months of, you're not going to make a profit, but you have to stay focused. You have to stay steady with your idea and your business plan. And then she basically just got too much, where it's like, okay, well, it's a lot here of not making money, and I need to find a way to make money. And she kind of had to, she kind of like, I love doing this, but I'm going to put it to a side. And I've seen that with so many, with a lot of businesses. Another interesting fact that I saw, because I was judging startups at the beginning of this week over at CU, and I looked it up. because one of the startups we were looking at was actually a venture capital for Indian reservations. So, which was really cool. And they were looking at starting that. So I was curious. So if you're a venture capital, how many businesses underneath you are more successful? And the percentage actually is a lot better. Only 20 to 30% of companies that are backed by venture capitalists fail, versus the other way around. Like you were saying, you know, only two of 14 were successful.
I'm not far enough in this book to know, but like, was there any venture capital funding for Nike? I'm spoiler alert, Laura, earmuffs if you need to, because
I don't remember specifically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, these days it feels like everyone has it or trying to get it.
Well, the thing that comes with venture capital is the coaching, the you know, the executive leadership, the people that they have a financial interest in your company, and they can say, well, try this or do that, and because they have that financial interest, they can kind of push you in that direction too. But they've seen successful businesses as well.
Right. I wonder if Nike had that. It'd be interesting to know. Did Steve Jobs, did Apple have that? I forget. Remember.
Well, I know he was struggling to get. I know he's struggling to get banks to support him. I do recall that. And you got to keep in mind that this was through the '60s and early part of the '70s. So
Right. There was no
different environment.
Yeah, I feel like businesses.
It's just garbled. It's,
Man, must have been good. The censors bleeped it out.
It's garbled. Try again, Carissa.
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, you're on mute now.
There we go. Okay, sorry, my computer's acting weird. So, anyways, no, I was saying I feel like we're more venture capital funds than we are bank. It used to be a loan that you went to the bank for. Now you go after angel investors. So.
And up until a couple of weeks ago, you could have gone to Silicon Valley Bank.
I was just about to say that.
Oh my gosh, Hal, you're out of control today.
I
love it.
It's every day, Marianne.
I love it. I've got an SVB joke in.
Then again, a lot of people have pulled their money out of it. So, I mean, there's a lot more money available now. So,
What else? Should we... Oh. It must be my StreamYard is messed up. It can't handle more than 6 people or something.
Uh-oh.
Or maybe it's that Kuwait suddenly joined us.
Should I exit on that note?
Laying on Kuwait. Nice.
somebody just stole Chris Postel. They
No,
just
he left,
grabbed him.
He left.
It's like a Halloween episode of the Virtual Book Club.
Yeah, I was saving this for October, but it came early. Scary voices and spooky happenings.
Yeah. So, okay. So we were talking earlier about his sense of humor and the way he approached things. So he had a lot of quotes from movies and pop culture. And I think you can kind of judge people's personality based on the quotes that they use, right? So what did he say? And at one point he said, he quoted the Bucket List movie, and he said, you measure yourself by the people who measure themselves by you.
How does that work? You measure yourself by the people who measure themselves against you.
Yeah, so basically saying if somebody is admiring you and they're emulating you, then you kind of must be doing something right. But at the same time, if you're measuring yourself by the people who measure themselves by measuring you, then essentially you're measuring yourself by yourself.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna have to watch the replay to make sure I followed all that.
so
Oh my
so
gosh.
it's one of those backhanded ways of saying I'm only competing with myself because everybody else is following me.
Right.
And I think it's also, if I got that, I would also say it's partially imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah, that
If
too.
people are trying to copy what you're doing, you must be doing something right.
Yeah, yeah.
I do love his use of quotes.
Yeah, because I think at some point you got to find ways to give yourself a pep talk when you're doing something different. Like when you're trailblazing, everybody's a critic of you, and very few people are supportive. And you got to find, and I think that humor and just not giving a rip was his way of doing that.
You know, it's interesting when you get to be at the top too, though. You're talking about who the leaders are, though. I think it's finding something more than competing against other people. You have to find, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to get to be that person? Because look at, anybody that's been great or any company that's been at the top, they don't give up because they're at the top. They find something else to drive them, or they have something that they're passionate about. And, it can't be money. I mean, most of it's not about money. It's, most of the great ones, it was about something else or a cause or a belief or something like that. I mean, Steve Jobs emulated the way that Polaroid, the Polaroid founder made it people first, right? And it was really interesting where he was about the people. So Steve, or I don't know if envy is the best word, but he emulated him of like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then it became Apple, and, Polaroid failed and Apple's been successful, and they're doing, he has kind of the same values, but he's growing there. But somebody even like, go back to a Nike, Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods for the longest time had nobody within miles of him, right? Like, who's he competing with? He was only competing with himself. So It's getting, as a business, you get to that, you got to find that thing that's not competing against others, but finding something within yourself that you're trying to, maybe Tiger Woods' thing was, oh, I'm going to just try to get a few inches closer to the green or try to beat my score by a little bit, instead of I'm going to try to beat this person. I'm going to try to do this a little bit better, instead of I'm going to, I'm going to try to beat somebody. I'm going to try to do something better for myself or compete against myself. So,
yep.
And I think I'm sure that Nike, they've done a lot of that as well too, as they were the leader.
So Benita, there's a line in the book that I just love that I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna read. It's a line that just cracked me up when I read it.
Yes,
and
please.
When I do this, I mean no disrespect to lawyers, but this is when he was initially working out a deal with Bowerman to do stuff for the fledgling company. And he says, we had ourselves a deal, meaning between Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman. But lawyers always mess things up. Lawyers specialize in messing things up. So when they try to work out a contract, the lawyers were getting in the way of what they want. They knew conceptually they wanted to do. Okay, I laughed when I read that.
I think it's funny. I think a lot of it is funny. I think every second page I giggle to myself about what is written.
Yeah.
What is it that made you giggle, Benita?
Just little lines, like one-liners, like Hal just read. There's a whole bunch of one-liners in there. It gives you a sense of, like, I'm sure the ghostwriter that wrote Prince Harry's memoir or autobiography it wasn't the same tone, you know what I mean? But this tone is funny. This tone is funny. Like, I'm having a real good time. I'm enjoying this book. It's flowing really easily. It's not big words.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's relatable. So he had a dream, he had a desire to do something, and he went for it. and he made mistakes, and some stuff he was just freaking lucky. And in the book, at least, he talked about it openly. He didn't try to conceal it. And like you said, Benita, very easy read, really easy on the eyes and the ears, you know, for those who read aloud and move their finger like this, like me. No, it just, even though Nike is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you can relate to it because everybody has a dream, everybody has a goal, and everybody has naysayers and detractors. And the way he handles that is just real funny because he's just like, oh, well, you're a naysayer. I'm going to do it anyway. It's the old hold my beer syndrome, right? Just hold my beer.
I keep hearing that lately. It's like, and I'm saddened because I never have those moments. So what's mine? I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure you've had a few.
Instead
Hold
of
my
beer,
Molson. Hold my Molson.
I'm
Watch
sorry.
this.
There you go. Hold my Bloody Mary.
Right.
I am sure you've had one. You just sometimes you don't notice it when it's yourself, but it's I don't know anything that you excel at. You know, just say here, take this. I'm gonna go kick butt.
Hold my
gosh.
mimosa.
Hold my my lychee martini or something. I don't know. Okay, Leslie's saying from the clips that I saw of the movie. Okay, so we got to clarify. This book is not the remaking, like the movie is not made from this book. This is the memoir of Nike's founder, and the movie is about how they signed Michael Jordan.
Hmm.
Yep.
So I mean, I guess the book covers signing Michael Jordan, does it not? I didn't get that far yet, but earmuff again. Yeah, so the movie is about signing Michael Jordan, which I really want to see too. And we did choose the book in line with the launch of the movie, just like the same month. It'd be like a whole Nike month. But yeah, just wanted to make that differentiation, Leslie, that the book is not about the movie and the movie is not about the book. Although
Netflix commissioned with someone to do a movie based on the book. But that was like 4 years ago. And so I don't know what happened since then. I'll see if I can figure something out.
And I'm really surprised that they didn't include Tiger Woods in the movie, or maybe they do in the book. I don't know, because Nike signing him, that was pretty unique as well. Tiger talks about it in his autobiography. Right after he turned pro, he showed up to a course to play a competition, and they wouldn't let him in the clubhouse. There's this 18-year-old kid, and they told him, "No, we've got a professional tournament going on here. You're not allowed inside." And he says, "Okay, well, just point me the direction of the first tee." And the guy did. And he went and showed up for his tee time and teed off, and he ended up beating everybody by like 15 strokes, a long ways. And Nike caught wind of the story, and after they heard it, they went and sought Tiger Woods out and signed him. They had to have him after that.
Yeah, and I think with that one though, a good story. Don't get me wrong, because Tiger is a great golfer, but I think it was just a repeat of Michael Jordan. Like you had already done it before. You'd seen the formula, and you knew what could work. And so if it worked once, it could work again, especially when you look at Tiger's background and demographics and all the stuff. He was young, he was a minority, he had, dad and mom from this background where his dad was military, and they're a lot taking, good care and watching over him. So the story itself was one that makes for good TV, I guess. But yeah, they had already done it with Michael Jordan though. So to them, it was taking the same formula that had already worked and just applying it to somebody else. Now, I don't think that they expected him to be just the dominator that he was. Goodness, nobody could have predicted that. But I think really for them, it was they found a formula and they repeated it.
And it worked well.
Very well.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's. I'm really excited to watch the movie.
I was you mentioned it being Nike month, and you reminded me that it's actually Women's History Month, and I started thinking with Nike, you don't see many women that they've brought up, that they've sponsored, that they've helped become big names, have we?
Yeah, like who would they
Good
be?
question.
Like Serena Williams. Does somebody have their version of LinkedIn open? I hear echo.
Mine is, I'm echoing here. It's probably me.
Okay. You have to mute. You have to mute the one that's on the secondary device. Yeah, like I guess it would be like Serena Williams.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Nike partners with 13 women athletes.
Oh, okay.
And they've also supported women in hijab.
Oh yeah, I
so
remember that.
thought,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite.
I can't name any of them except for Serena and Venus.
Yeah.
There's some other,
Serena's definitely there.
there's some other tennis players, I think.
Yeah, and I think there's a few that run track.
Ooh, okay.
And can't think of the others.
Let me try to look it up.
Well, and I like how recently they just started supporting like a normal person. You know, like their commercials will just have like a normal person. I like that.
Yeah. It makes it more relatable, right?
Yeah. Because we're just all normal people wearing our Nike.
Well, when it all started, it was pretty much a cult brand. It was a cult brand for track runners.
Yeah. Yeah, it started with track, then it went to basketball, then it became like a pop culture phenomenon. When I was growing up, there were hip hop songs talking about Nike. There were actually some songs titled Nike, but all of the hip hop artists were talking about Nikes in some capacity, whether it was playing basketball, running, or just beating somebody up and stomping them with their Nikes. But seriously, it was a pop culture phenomenon, especially back in the, I would say, mid 80s to mid 90s. Nike was it.
And it really is still in a lot of countries. When I was in Germany last year, I saw that everyone had like their 1970s Nikes, the high tops, and I had to get myself a pair. I like just had to.
You just remind me about the part in the book where the high tops, I think, were called throw ups.
Oh, throw ups?
And he's like, please don't laugh. Please don't laugh. Yeah.
No, those are that was the discus shoes.
The tiger shoes.
Yeah, those.
In the Japanese terminology.
Right. Too funny. It was like a translation, and it was a translation went wrong.
That's right. I've just gotten through the first chapter of the book because I couldn't find the book.
Oh, okay. We'll slow it down then. I'll tell you where I am.
So
I'm
I
on
couldn't
year
find it on Amazon
1964.
Prime, but I was able to find it eventually on my Kindle. But I loved how obviously he started off with traveling. I mean, he really did travel the world, and the fact that his father endorsed that, having not traveled, I thought that was amazing to.
Right.
And and how he came to pick the name Nike was in his travels to Greece. And the story behind that, I think it was beautiful. And obviously his passion was so deep.
Yeah. I don't know what we're going to talk about for the next 3 weeks now that we've talked about.
Well, next week we're taking a hiatus, right?
Oh, yes.
That takes care of next week.
Yes. Next week we're taking a hiatus. I will be with Mr. Postel at a conference. Yeah.
Calgary, yep. Be doing a nice systems thinking workshop.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to have CJ Eunice. We're going to have Michael Woodenberg. We're going to have Peter Ryer. And we're going to have Heinz and Nabbit doing a workshop on systems thinking applied. So, wow, it's going to be wicked. Chris and I are going to be minding a booth together, so that's going to be fun.
Be a lot of fun hanging out.
Yeah, I was just telling Rob I was gonna like film some of those TikTok videos for you. So bring your hard hat.
yeah, the old TikTok. Yeah, that's good. No, it should be good. It's a smaller conference, but it's a good conference. It should be. They're trying to grow their audience as well, so it's good organization. EventWorks, and good opportunity to connect with people and grow some. So it should be fun. Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to hanging out with you next week.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what we come up with, what we drum up.
So while at the conference, are you gonna just do it? Just attend the conference. Just do it.
We're just gonna do it.
That's the theme.
Yeah. Okay, so next week it's our bye week. We're going dark, guys. And then the week after that, we start again. So we have lots of time to read. And I'll keep on texting you guys as I go through it so that, it encourages you, because I know we can forget to read when we have so much time apart. So who's watching the movie?
I'll probably go next month at some point. Yeah. First, I got to see Mario. 3 kids, but then that's on my list.
Is it in the movie theater or is it on Prime?
I don't know. I think it's on Prime, but it might be in the theater. I can't recall.
I think it's in the theater. I'm planning to take my kids to it. My oldest son is a huge sports fan, and I think he loves basketball. So I think he's gonna love the story behind it. So
cool.
Chris, I think if you give Ariel a basketball, you can combine the 2 movies in one.
They're starting to talk here. Yeah, I think I like where we're going with this. Yeah, put some swooshes on Sonic shoes and all kinds of stuff there. I think we'll figure this out.
Too funny. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we will see you in 2 weeks, folks. 2 weeks. Thanks for coming. See you all soon.